Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm gamesplaining Forum Trajanum. The game has been set up as a two-player game. The rules for a 3 or 4 player game are identical, with the only difference being that there's an extra 1 or 2 depending on if you've got 3 or 4 players. Once you understand the rules on this game, it runs really smoothly and straightforward. Understanding them, however, is potentially an issue. So let's run through. The first thing that happens is that from these 2 cards, you will have a row and column, or 2 rows or 2 columns on your board. You will select one from each spot. I've marked those 2 spots here and here with these meeples. They're just left over for the moment. I tend to play the game using markers just to keep my mind at I'm using these columns and these rows. So I can select one of the tokens from this line and one token from this line. I could choose this one, I could choose that one, or any of the ones in between. So I might start with taking these 2. So this one's from this row, that one is from that row. The other player will do the same. They don't have to take the same pieces, but they need to use the same columns and same rows. So they might grab that one and let's say that one. Now, each player will look at the 2 spots they've taken and choose one of them they wish to keep. So this player might choose this one to keep, and he'll put that face down in his spot, and the other one goes face down for the other player. If it's a 3-player game, you're passing to your left. If a 4-player game, also to the left. The green player is looking at these 2, and he might go for this one. So he puts that down and he passes the other one over to the left. So everyone has the one that they have chosen and another one they are not aware of. Now, on their turn, they will select one of these 2 tokens to be used. So this player might go with this one, which is 1 green and 1 yellow meeple. They just come into his bank. And the other one goes out unused. Now, in the introduction, I was talking about this element where they don't use that. I've made a point of using the other person's token just so that I can point this out. It does get used sometimes, not all the time. Then this player is also looking at that or that, and he's not going to use the blue one. He'll use that one instead. So he just gains what is on the picture. Other things that are on the pictures, this is coins. This I'll talk about in a moment. That little marker moves this forward, and I'll talk about why that's important in a moment. Once you have made your decisions, your turn looks like taking one of these tokens. Now, the single tokens go in a single place. I could put a double token on a double place if I can afford it. So how do we get these tokens? It's really quite simple. Any of these 3 will gain a token of their matching color, or I could spend, say, yellow and brown to be able to pick up one of the other 3 colors. So if I really wanted a blue, for example, I might get rid of those 2, take the blue one and put it down. Why would I wish to do that? Well, if I put a coloured building onto my space, I now get to take one of these markers. So that was the marker that I've turned over and used. Notice you had 1 to start with, plus the one I've just used. I would spend that marker onto one of the 3 blue locations. So he might spend it just there. The reason you are doing that is to build up this area of your board. Once this blue has been selected, anyone else who builds a blue building must build into that area. They can't go to the other areas until that one's full. Whoever completes an area will get one of these bonuses. So that's either a white guy, a brown guy, a coin, move their marker along, or 2 points. What you're looking for up there is for the largest, or your largest area will get points depending on where this is at the scoring round. There are 3 scoring rounds. 1, 2, 3. So it's basically 8 cards or 4 turns per section, and scores at the end of that section. Once that's happened, it passes on to the other player. Now, the other thing that a player could do is spend a grey guy. The grey guy is used to build these. Why would I want to build these? I'm glad you asked. If he spends his grey guy and builds, let's go with that one because it's really close, into an empty space, it doesn't cost him a marker down the bottom right hand corner. What it does do is moves his marker a long one within the track. So he's just built one of this type of building, so he'll move along that track, the matching track. If you would build one of the other types, he'd move along one of the other types of buildings. There's a fourth type, the one with the statue. That's talking about this area just here, and you get that many points for building that building. So as you go further through the game, when we finish this round, this marker goes here, so suddenly those are only worth 2 points instead of being worth 3, and in the last third of the game, it's worth only 1 point. By moving along there, he gets what is on the picture. So in this case, 2 brown meeples. Now the other thing he could have done, if he didn't take, so that's 2 turns worth of taking stuff, by the way. If he didn't take one of those, is he could have taken one of these. That would cost him the marker for the blue and the grey guy also for the grey area. And that pushes him along on this track, which will pick him up a white meeple plus 1 of any colour, and it's totally his choice as to what he wishes to pick up. So he might go with that. Now, when you build a grey building, the grey ones don't go up here. What they do, you're looking for each of the different building types to be in each row, because you get points for each building type that's in each row, depending on which of these lines has a marker on it. So at the moment, this one is worth 1 point because there's no marker next to it. If there was a marker just here, that one would be worth 2 points. If he had a second one in, that marker would be worth 3 points. To get another marker, they will be in here. What that looks like is when you take that secondary one, so if I get another one of these columns and put it there, I will gain whatever is pictured, but that's only a one-off gain. So once these are all finished, so they've been all put up there, we get to a scoring. To start with, you're paying 1 coin per citizen. So the guys over here are called citizens. There's 1 citizen, so he'll pay 1 coin for that particular citizen. If he didn't wish to spend that coin, he would lose the ability of that citizen. I haven't gone into what these guys actually do. That is in the back of the rule book, but really quickly, this one where I've got the marker allows him to score on the diagonal off these, and I'll go over that in a second, or to start a second one of the same colour without completing one, if that's what he wishes to do. This one would allow him to, when he gets that bonus, which I was talking about earlier, to actually take 2 of the bonuses rather than just the one. They need to be different. This one allows this card here to be flipped over, and I'll talk about why that's important, but also when you move that forward, you're moving it from tree to tree. So the first movement forward would be to there, the second movement forward would be 2 spots because there's no tree just there. This one allows him once per turn to exchange money for brown or white for brown or money, etc, etc, so either direction. This one allows him twice per turn to exchange 1 brown guy for 1 of another colour, and he can do that twice per turn, so that's what that little number 2 is talking about. He doesn't get to change that 1 for 2 things of colours. It's 1 for 1, but he can do it twice. And this one can only be done once, and that's exchange a brown for a grey. So once you've either paid your guy or flipped it over to not pay the guy, if he's flipped over and you decide later that you wish to get that bonus back, you can just pay him. You don't have to wait for a round. You can just do it in the middle of your turn, flip that over, and suddenly you've got that bonus back. Once you've done that, then we go on to the rest of the scoring. So the first thing that happens is the uncovered cranes get scored. So in the first scoring section, each structure that has the same colour as the crane, so for example, if this one had managed to uncover that, we're looking for blue, he has 1 blue. That is worth 3 points in the first section. If we're in the second section, it's worth 2 points. If we're in the third section, it's worth 1 point. So same as the little building pieces. Then we go to the different grey buildings. So I was talking about having different grey. If I've got all 4 of the grey buildings on this row, it's worth 4 points. If it was like that, then all 4 would be 8 points. At the moment, having that one is just worth 1 point because there's only one of them. If I have a second one of that scroll, it's not going to give me any extra points. I could have a scroll here, and that starts a secondary row of scoring, however. Then we're looking at envoys adjacent to these eagles. To start with, we're looking at orthogonally adjacent only, so that one's worth 1 point. If it was here, it would be worth no points, except that I have this spot, which allows me to score diagonals as well, so that would be worth 1 point. Then we're looking at the largest connected area. So in this area, you're looking for all the orthogonally adjacent connected spaces. Whatever your largest area is will get you points depending on where this is along the track. So at the moment there's only one, it's worth no points. If there were 2 things there, that would be worth 1 point. If I had 9 things, it would be worth 4 points. However, if I've managed to get this moved along and I only have 2 things next to each other, that's worth 5 points now. Then the last thing you're looking at is these cards. So there's 2 areas on this card. The top part is looking at what is constructed in your area. The bottom part is looking at what you have. So this one's looking for non-equal grey buildings that are in the above and below kind of positions, which I don't have any of them. Then this one's looking at if I've got 2 brown and a money, which I do, that would gain me points for that, and that depends on where this guy is. And at the moment he's sitting and getting 5 points. If this was down here, he would get 3 points for that. And points are tracked around the outside of the board. The one other thing that I do need to deal with is these guys. There's some random white guys sitting on your table at the moment. If you have one white guy, you can spend that one white guy to be able to take a space that is not dictated by the rows and columns that the cards are telling you to use. If you have 2 white guys that you wish to spend, you can spend both of those white guys, and what that enables you to do is use both of the tiles that were selected, so yours and the other person's, you use them both and get whatever is depicted on those pictures. And as always, once they're used, they go into their appropriate usable spots. Look, I think that is everything for the moment, so I will leave that there. If you go on and watch my gameplay, you should get a feel for how the first bit of the game works and how it feels. It actually runs relatively smoothly once you're playing it, because some of that action will happen at the same time as each other. So please go ahead and watch my gameplay to get a feel for how the game plays. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be Gamesplained, please shoot me an email at thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.